What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hammer Down Creations. So we're going to hop back onto the trailer build now. So on this episode, we're going to get all of the insulation put in after we take all the plywood off the walls. And then also we're going to get the electrical wiring done inside the walls for the outlets and also for the 30 amp shore power connection on the side. So I'm going to show how to take off all the plywood, get all the insulation in and taped up, run all the electrical. I'm going to also put in the exterior boxes on this episode, and then we'll be prepared for putting all the outlets in and then running the electrical into the Wifco box. All right, let's get to it. Before we get started installing all of the electrical equipment, I'll give a quick rundown of everything that I got so far. I'm sure that I need a couple more things, but this is what I got so far. So we got the Wifco 8955 right here. I did go with the 50 amp just because I think it gives you a couple extra breaker spots, a couple extra spots for your 12 volt right here. And I also randomly found this on Facebook Marketplace for a deal, so I went ahead and picked it up. Got a couple of outlet boxes right here. These are some heat shrink for the 4-aught cable. So I got 5 feet of both red and black for the 4-aught cables. So I think that's going to be enough with the run that I have. I think that that's probably actually overkill of how much that I need, but I figured it would be better safe than sorry. And if I did add another battery or something in the future, then I could just use my leftover cable. So I did go with the super flexible welding wire right here. So this is a little bit more expensive, but as you can see, it bends pretty good. I've got it from batteryycablesusa.com. Some connectors right here for the wall outlets. Got these to have the grounding points mounted up to the frame of the trailer. So up here I got some 10 AWG triplex, and then it's 12 AWG. I got two 50-foot rolls of that. So these are going to go to the outlets. This is going to run from the main 30 amp connection on the side of the trailer from this port right here. So this is going to run into the circuit breaker right here, and then is going to run over. So I got the Renogy 3000 watt inverter that also has a transfer switch built into it. I did like how this one had the transfer switch mounted onto the inverter. It seemed like a little bit more smooth process and a little bit less cabling for me. Right here, this is the breaker switch for the main shore power coming in. Battery disconnects right here. Just a crimping tool to put all of these connectors onto the end of the cables. So I did screw up. I did have a map of all of the different connectors that I would need. The only one that was different is this one is actually a 1/2 inch stud that comes out of here. So I'll probably have to just take one of these and drill it out a little bit. Got two separate bus bars right here to hook up the batteries and everything, 12 volts plus two 400 amp fuses right here. Battery monitoring with a shunt. And then over here I got some 10 AWG as well for some other accessories. So like I said, this is pretty much what I got so far. So we're going to go ahead and start getting this stuff installed. At the same time, we're going to be ripping out all the plywood on the side and then installing the insulation. So let's get started. So before we get started, I'm going to give a quick rundown now that we're here in the trailer. So like I said before, I'm going to be pulling off all of this plywood around here and then probably all the way up until this point right here. So you can see right here is the break in this portion. So probably once I get right here, I'm going to have to stop and then also take all the trim off of the top up here. I'm going to label it all just to make sure I know exactly where it goes, but this is two pieces here on the side, on the top, and then each portion of the V has its own section as well, so it won't be too hard to keep everything labeled. But as you can see down here, so I got the generator slide that I'm going to be mounting up right there, plus the generator door, and then the mock-up of the size of the AC unit that's going to be going in right here. I'm going to have this thing up on some stilts, but I'm going to make an enclosure to essentially start from right here, come over across the ground right here, and then come up and enclose the AC unit. That's going to be probably 36 inches tall. So this door right here is I think it's a 24 by 24, and then 36 by 36. So it's going to be just across the top of this door and then over across the top of here. I do plan on building a shelf on the inside above the generator just to store cables and everything, but I would like to get that built before all of the plywood is taken off, just so I make sure I have the right size. And then also, so I think I said before, I did not specify what direction I wanted these doors to open when I got the trailer built, and I would like them to open up instead of to the side. So I'm probably going to take all of these rivets out and rotate the doors and then screw them back in. So another thing too, while I'm going, I'm not sure exactly how all of these windows are screwed in. So I'm hoping that I can maybe just, once I get the top trim pieces off, I might be able to slide the plywood out. If not, then I'm going to have to take all of these windows out as well, which is going to be a pretty long process. So if you are doing any work on the trailer or on a trailer, make sure you pick up a set of these. So DS2 is a lot of the screws that are on the trailer here. So like trim pieces like this, all of these screws are a pretty uncommon bit size. Like I said, it's the DS2. I think there is one bit that kind of fits, but this is definitely the right bit that you want to get. So just a quick note, I did label it left rear. All right, now we're going to take this long piece off. So when I take these rear panels off right here, you might see me only take the top two off. That is because there's about a 1 foot piece down here on the bottom. I don't know if you can see the transition right about here. So that piece is caulked to the ground already. So I'm probably just going to leave that because the electrical boxes are going to be above it. And then I'll probably just slide the insulation down into those slots. It won't be taped, but there will be insulation in there. So for all of the plywood here on the sides, it is a different bit. So we have the SQ bit, which is essentially just a square, which now I can use the actual DeWalt bits, which probably will work much better than those other bits because it seemed as if I blasted through 2 of them. Luckily I have 4, but we'll go ahead and use these. I'll probably end up swapping those out to a different style of head just so that I can use some higher quality bits because I had to buy the other ones off of Amazon because I couldn't find them anywhere else. So I'm going to do the same thing with all of these sheets of plywood. Just label them so that I at least have an idea of where they're going. So this one's going to be left back top, this will be left back bottom, and then we'll do a middle, forward, front left V, front right V. So after taking these panels off, I did realize that this box right here is not going to work unless I space this out by probably 1/2 inch, and then also this air box here on the side. The smaller ones do work, Not ideal, but I might end up going with these. I know that it's supposed to have a little bit more cubic inches, but that should work. These screws are out, so let's see if this thing does slide out of here or if a window is just sandwiched together and is being held in there by the trim. It does just slide out of here, but I don't think that I'll be able to get it out with all these cables up here. Go ahead and get the bottom taken off now though. Well, I can't get this bottom piece off either because it's pinched pretty well down here just under the window. So I tried to maybe pull it down there, but it also wouldn't budge loose. I don't necessarily want to take the windows off today, so I think that I'm probably just going to loosen this panel right here in front of the camera. Do this one over here right next to the door, the one above the window right there, and then just leave everything loose. Like I said, I don't want to pull all 50 screws out of each one of these windows today, so I'll just get all the screws loose, continue my way up here, see if I can get some stuff done, and then work on this side a little bit more. So it doesn't look like this trim piece right here, or I guess this door jamb right here is structural at all. It's just a trim piece that's going around the door, so should be no problems taking it off right now and then not worrying about screwing it back in because still won't be any water that gets into it. So for this panel right here, depending on how this generator door comes out, I think I might just leave this panel on because there's only about maybe 1.5 inches right here where I could put insulation, and then I could probably slide a piece down right here. I'm not sure if they put a structural beam across right here, so if they did, I can't really get down there and see. I'll have to get an inspection mirror, but if they did, then I'll take this panel off and get some insulation up here in the front. But if they didn't, I'll just slide a piece right down in here. Alright, so the camera died the other night while I was building this, but I did get the enclosure finished for the generator and the AC, so tried to match a little bit what a standard countertop height is, but I think it's going to be a little bit above that, so it's 38 inches tall all the way around, and I'll probably just end up finishing that all the way around here. But I did want to get this done just so I made sure that everything fit, because my plan right now is to mount essentially a bunch of the electrical stuff up against this side right here, and then batteries and stuff on the top right here, and then to continue those cabinets up the wall right here. So I wanted to get that done and in place, and then I'll be working on getting the electrical cables all run from the top up here and then down to this area right here, because I want to have the breaker panel mounted right here. So I think now that that's done, I'll work on getting all these window frames taken out so that I can continue taking the rest of this plywood off. Alright, so I do have a piece of plywood, or a 2x4 on the outside here just to hold the window in. Not sure how tight that is in the frame, Well, we'll go ahead and pull this frame off. Get a couple of these pieces of plywood off, and then I'll throw the frame back on with just a couple of screws in it to hold it in. Alright, so we got both of these windows done, all the plywood's off. So I guess technically the whole right side of the trailer is now done. So I started doing some electrical on that side. Still got to move the box, take that window frame out, take the rest of this plywood out, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate the generator door and the AC door on the exterior to get them to open up instead of sideways. Alright, so we got a ton of progress done. This is what the trailer is looking like now, nice and bare. So put all the window frames back on just to hold the window in place, make sure it doesn't fall out. Got all of these plywood panels taken off, and this window frame put back up. So it does look like up here that the generator doors, the AC doors are framed out. So I'm probably going to leave these on and just slide some insulation down in here. But now I'm going to go ahead and go outside and try and flip these doors around. Alright, so now that I got a slight measurement for most of the average of the gaps in the frame, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of these pieces cut out. So I already got the saw set up to 14.5 inches. So we'll get a couple pieces of insulation cut out so we can get those installed. Alright, so pretty poorly lit in here because it's nighttime, but got a couple of sheets of the 14.5 inch. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw them in all of the large spaces that I can fit them for this evening. And then tomorrow I'll start working on the smaller spots like this that have framing in different locations, small slivers like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of these thrown up. Probably won't record too much of it, but it's pretty simple. I just slide it down in there and then make sure that the cables are tucked behind, the cables are pulled out, and then tuck the insulation back behind it. It's pretty snug fit, so I don't know if I'm gonna do the tape or not. So we'll see. All right, so I didn't get much footage the other night because it was dark out here. I was just working off of a flashlight, but I did get some of the insulation put in. I think this was 3 or 4 sheets of 4x8 sheets of the insulation. So everything that was 16 inches on center, or I guess 14.5 inches of actual insulation got cut. Still have a couple more frames to cut in that dimension to put in, but I also went in and marked all the different locations where I want to have outlets around the trailer. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that again, do some more measurements and put some more insulation up before the electrical. All right, well, it's dark again, so I got a couple lights set up in here. I went ahead and cut about 15 different sheets, just took a couple measurements around the trailer for different size framing because most of it is 16 on center, but with all the windows and doors and the escape door and everything, a couple of the frames were shifted. So I took all those measurements. So I'm going to try to get everything that doesn't have any sort of electrical cable running through it put up tonight. So we'll get that insulation in, maybe get some of it taped up, and then tomorrow I'll start working on the rest of the insulation and the cabling. All right, let's get started. All right, so for these panels that do have all these side marker lights on it, I go ahead and essentially bevel out a little hole in here so that I can remove it so it doesn't push this through the side of the trailer. And then I'll make a little notch up here at the top, and then I'll cut a little sliver down here just so I can run the cables up through, and then it should be pretty easy. Just make sure that the cables aren't being pinched or pulled in any way, and then slide that panel in. As you can see, most of the insulation has been put up, except for sections like this, which did have cabling in it before, and then the locations where I'm going to put all of the outlets. So before I wanted to put this insulation in, this cabling right here is loose. So what I did was 3D print a bunch of little clips. So I'm going to go ahead and get those in with some self tappers to at least hold everything up against one of the frame rails, so it's just not banging around in there or squeezed behind the insulation and I don't know where it's at. If I do this, at least I can narrow it down and know that it's up against the framing. All right, so we got every single panel put in that isn't going to have any sort of cabling in it. So I think now I'll probably try and get a couple of different sections done with at least the tape, at least around the windows right here and then along these frame rails. And then we'll start putting the electrical up. I don't have all of my boxes yet, so we'll have to probably go to Home Depot real quick and grab that. And then I can start getting the exterior outlets put in, and then we'll finish up with the rest. All right, so that took up an entire roll of tape. So I did double tape in some sections, and then I did tape around the windows as well. I don't know if it's 100% necessary, but I have the tape, so I'll go ahead and throw it on All right, so in preparation for the outside outlet showing up, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the cable ran, at least so I can just pop the outlets for the outside on once they show up. So again, I'm using the triplex 12 AWG for the cabling for the 120 outlets, and then just using some self tappers to put these little cable clamps that I 3D printed in. So we'll go ahead and get those routed to the main outlets, and then I'll run some additional cable to get to the outside outlets. I'm going to start here at the back and then work my way forward. That seems like the most logical thing for me. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so that's going to do it for this first run. So there's going to be an outside outlet below that. Let's run it up across the top right here, all the way over the escape door, and then down here next to the window. So the TV is going to go right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it pretty high up and then continue on. All right, to run back to the TV outlet, I think I'm going to start from where the electrical panel is going to be and work my way back so that I can put two of these cables into one of the clamps. So we'll go ahead and start up here. I'm not sure exactly where this panel is going to go. It's probably going to be around chest high over here, so I'll leave a little bit of slack so that it can have enough cable to go into the panel and I can get all the breakers and everything situated. So one thing I forgot, I just want to label these cables so that I know what exactly they go to, because once I put the panel on, get everything wired up, when I put the plywood up, I want to know where they're coming from and where they're going. So I almost screwed up already. So I forgot that this cable right here is going to go to the microwave outlet that's going to be right here. I'm going to use that as my GFC outlet coming directly out of the breaker panel. So I'm going to go ahead and put another clamp up here, up top, and then we'll mark out where this outlet's going to go. This panel right here is going to be a little bit different. You can see I got the cable run down to right here. This is going to be the outlet that's above the counter, and then it's going to run down to this one that is going to be underneath of the counter for the refrigerator, and then it's going to run down to where that tape is down there, and that's going to be the outside outlet. All right, so before we put these outside outlets in, I'm going to go ahead and mark where this box is going to be on the inside so we can start drilling some holes. All right, here goes nothing. So I got this hole right here and this hole right here, both lined up, so I'll go ahead and cut this portion out right here so we can get the exterior bracket connected, and then hopefully the gasket will pull that tight to the trailer. All right, so I got it all paint taped up. I drew the lines down just to connect all 4 of the holes, so I'm going to use just a normal metal cut-off disc on the Dremel to cut these out. It's a little hot. All right, so as you can see, so it's sitting right there perfect, so it should be enough spot to get the outlet into there, and then we'll throw the outside cover on and then have the gasket pull it tight. All right, so I didn't record me putting it in, but I threw the outlet in there and then put the cover on. You just slide it over the screws right here. So you can see you got the opening right here. Then you just slide it over, tighten it down. There is a pin that goes in right here on this side. But as you can see, everything's nice and tight right here. I'll probably end up putting some more silicone around the outside right here just to make sure that it's got a good seal, but at least we can get the insulation put in right here and then finish up. All right, now we're going to move on to the shore power connection. So I did buy this 2 7/8 hole saw right here. I'm going to go ahead and poke the hole through the side with the drill bit, and then I'm going to go outside and drill in to the trailer so we don't have any jagged edges on the outside. All right, so I cut this piece of wood out with the same hole saw. So I'm gonna have this sitting on here like this. I did put a cable clamp on the outside, so I'll run the cable through here, and then we'll get all of our connections hooked up, and then we'll go ahead and go from the outside. I'll just push the cable through so that I can have as much slack as I need, and then we'll trim to fit. pretty self-explanatory. So white goes into the white hole, green into the green, black into the black. In case anybody was wondering, so this is 10 AWG3. This is another triplex, so it's got the shielded 10 gauge wire on it. It's also straighted. So if you see right here, so I got them ran out, taped together, so they will be much easier pulling them out through the plywood sheets. So you can see over here, so I did put this panel in right here because the next thing that I'm gonna do is get the enclosure screwed into the side, and then I'll install the circuit breaker inverter so I can at least get power out here. But you can see for this box right here, this is the first one that I actually got installed, so that's what it's going to look like for every other one. So I think the next episode I'm going to go over actually installing the inverter and the circuit breakers, and then hopefully the rest of the electrical. I do have the battery on order, so it should be here sometime next week, but we'll get most of that stuff installed onto the generator and AC enclosure, and then get the box put up right here. I'll have to build that out for the Waco box or Waco circuit breaker panel, and then we'll go ahead and get some power in here. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode. Hammer Down Creations out.